From this wall over to there will be a little kitchen counter.
Hopefully the sausage is still right.
So here's the second panel that I installed right here. This is 160 watts and this is also 160 watts. Once I put the cabinets in, it kind of blocked a lot of the light from the cooking area and the food prep area. So I went ahead and put 2 strips of LEDs underneath. Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. So if you're new, this trailer that I'm standing in right here I started out as a plain enclosed trailer and I've converted it to a toy hauler. You can check out the whole series on that if you want to see where it started to where it is now. But I kind of figured that most of the people watching this channel are probably interested in figuring out if they want to do this for themselves or to get ideas for their own build. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that you need to consider if you want to do this for yourself, and things that will help you decide if it's right for you. So I've got a list right here, and the first thing on it is, how many amenities do you want? Like what are you looking for in your trailer? Are you gonna start out with an enclosed trailer and just do some cabinets and a sink, maybe a microwave to cook in? Or do you wanna have a shower and a toilet and a kitchen and, you know, cabinets, all that kind of stuff? It plays a huge role in figuring out the layout of your trailer, because all that stuff can't fit in the same layout as like a regular toy hauler. Just depending on how much room you need in the back, if you want your bed to be mounted solid in the front, things like that. And depending on the frame of your trailer, you might not be able to put things exactly where you want. Like when I was building this, I did the bathroom right here. I had it all laid out, it was perfect, and then I went to put the toilet in and I was trying to measure where the pipe was going to go and realized that the frame went right where the toilet pipe was going to come down. So there was no possible way to make my layout work, and I ended up having to build an aluminum tank that's inside for my grate or my black water. And you know, depending if you were going to do a toilet or not, that's going to play a big role into what area you're going to have for other things. So in mine, like, I ended up doing a cooler fridge because it was the size I needed, and it was also portable, and it would fit. Like, it worked size-wise for the food that I was planning on taking, but it also fit into the layout. If I was to do a big camp trailer style fridge, you know, either like the single ones or like a double door, that's going to take up a ton more floor space, and where you don't have the what's the word for it? You don't have the ability to do a slide out and slide your whole kitchen out. That's going to definitely play an effect into it. And you're definitely going to want to consider the power system that you're planning to run in your trailer. So I did solar on the roof, I did a decent sized battery bank and an inverter, all that stuff. And so if you think about that beforehand, you can figure out what wires you're going to need to run, where you're going to need to run them, and get all that done before you put any of the wall panels up or the insulation, because that stuff is not easy to try and retrofit. I had to run a couple wires for this diesel heater that's right under the camera here, and it was a pain in the butt, and I only had to run a wire like that far, but it went through the wall next to a drain pipe. I had to kind of go over and down. It's way harder to retrofit everything. So when you're planning it out, think of all that stuff first, and when you start your project, look at, you know, where you can run the wires, and then make sure you run like even extra wires to everywhere so that everything's there if you need it, or if you change your plans down the road, because more than likely that's what's going to happen. So consider all that kind of stuff. Awnings too, like I put lights on the outside right where the awning needs to go, so that kind of messed up my plan there later on down the road. What kind of storage you're going to need. Are you gonna do just have everything sitting on the ground when you get there, or are you gonna be able to put it up in cabinets and mount stuff like this? So think about that. And the next thing is, how much time are you gonna be willing to spend on this project? Now, when I started this, I severely underestimated the amount of time it was gonna take me to build all this stuff. The problem is everything is so custom for these things, because these trailers are built quickly to serve a purpose, and they're not meant to be perfect. So when you strip everything down, they have big trim covering up holes in the floor, and they've got the walls are all crooked and everything. So you're gonna have to plan for that. Well, not really plan for it, but you're gonna have to take into account that you can't just build a square wall and just slide it in right here. You're gonna have to do angles, and so just be committed time-wise, and maybe do it for the fun of it. That's kind of how I was with this trailer. It was a fun project. I like building stuff. I wasn't building it just to save money or anything like that. So take that into account. The next thing is, like, what kind of skills do you have? Are you really skilled with various types of materials? Like, can you work with wood? Can you work with metal? Do you know how to run electrical? Do you know how to do plumbing? The good thing is you can hop on YouTube and figure out most of that stuff pretty easily, even if you're a novice, but once again, it's going to take more time. So, and then, are you willing to trial and error it? Like, if you don't have the skills, are you willing to mess around with it and spend time and money figuring it out? Like this cabinet that's up here where my sink is, I built that thing, I think, 4 times. I didn't finish it every time, but I had a layout and I worked on it for quite a while, and then ended up realizing it wasn't going to work because the way I was building it was dumb. So there's definitely a lot of trial and error in this project. Another reason why you might want to build a custom one is because you want to build it in a certain way or with certain things that aren't found in toy. Now, generally, there's plenty of options out there. If you want to buy one, you can pretty much find what you want, or at least close enough that you can compromise on. But if there is something specific, obviously you're going to have complete control of what you do and where you do it and how you do it. And that kind of leads me into the next thing, that if you end up building one, a pro to the whole build is that you will know exactly how your trailer's built. If something goes wrong, you're like, okay, I know roughly what the project or the problem is and how to fix it, how I built the trailer, so I know what I need to take apart to fix it. That's just kind of a positive there. The other thing to consider is your budget. Now, generally, these trailers are going to be cheaper if you don't figure the man hours. If you figured man hours, you definitely should have just went to the dealership and bought one, because you spend so much time doing it. And you see videos on YouTube, people slapping one together in like 3 months or 3 weeks or something. You get what you spend the time on. So just kind of keep that in mind. Don't get fooled by the catchy titles that I built this in 3 weeks and it's awesome. Like, it's gonna be 3-week quality. So yeah, like I said, these are generally cheaper than buying one. I probably have roughly 15 to 16,000 into this trailer. I bought the trailer brand new out the door. It was $8,600, and I've put like quite a few things on it, and I've spent more in some areas than I would need to, and I kind of skimped in some others, and got some budget things here and there. But if you're doing it for budget and you have a lot of time, you're gonna come out with a better trailer in the end than if you went and bought one. Like I said before, the slide outs aren't a thing. Like a new trailer, you can go in there and you can have everything crammed in. You get to your campsite, you widen it out, and you have tons of room. But in an enclosed trailer, you get what you get. You get this 8.5 foot wide or 7 foot wide or whatever, and there's nothing else you can do about it. So keep in mind, if you build this whole entire bathroom setup like I have, it's going to take up quite a bit of room, quite a bit of floor space. I came up with a little pros and cons list. So on the cons, I've kind of already mentioned it, but tons of hours, it's hard work, everything's crooked, so you're going to have to custom build almost everything. It's probably not going to be 100% if it's your first build. I'd almost guarantee that it's not gonna be freaking flies in here, dude. God, frick. Damn it. Anyways, yeah, it's not gonna be 100% your first try. There's gonna be stuff that you're gonna learn along the way, and once you get done, you'll be like, man, I wish I would have known that at first. But so don't plan on everything being perfect your first try. And if you try to get it perfect your first try, it's gonna take you like 27.5 years to finish it, and then you'll probably want to buy a new one anyways because you're sick of it. So new trailers are super nice. Like obviously you're gonna pay more money for them, but it's like glamping to the max nowadays. Like it's nicer than most people's houses. So if you're trying to make it that nice, there's definitely you're gonna spend a lot of money, and it's gonna be hard to do that unless you're a super precision person and you're really good at that kind of stuff. Overall, it's gonna be hard to get the same amount of amenities in a home built DIY enclosed toy hauler conversion like this versus a one off the lot, because they can, at the manufacturers, they can buy stuff in bulk for cheap, and they can get super nice products, and you're gonna have a lot harder time doing that. Like I said, the windows and a fridge or air conditioner or water heater, anything like that, it's gonna cost you more to buy it aftermarket than it costs them. So it's gonna be a little bit harder to get the same amount of amenities. And you know, they build thousands of the same trailers, so they know exactly where to run the wires, and you're building one. So you're gonna run wires, and then you're gonna be like, crap, no, that's not gonna work. So you kind of got to compromise on some of that stuff sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Another thing to consider is that depending on what trailer you do, especially if you do a flat front enclosed trailer, a new toy hauler is generally going to be more fuel efficient towing, because you know, a lot of them anyways, not all of them, but a lot of them are rounded on the front, so they have a little bit more of a fuel efficient design, where you might have a flat front or a V-nose like mine. It's probably not going to pull quite as good. And then we'll go right into the pros. So pros, obviously you can do it however you want. Like you can do as janky or as nice as you want. That's all up to you. So, and then I already kind of mentioned before, but you will know your build inside and out. Like you're gonna spend so much time with this thing that you're gonna know it. But that's a positive, I would say. Probably the best thing is it's gonna be a fun build. It's gonna be, if you're looking into it and you're committed to it, it's fun to try and build stuff. And then when you get it done and you take it camping, and nobody has a trailer like yours, and you know, it's just cool to be like, yeah, I built all this, and now I'm living in it, or I'm camping in it, I mean, and it's comfortable, it's nice, have friends over, and it's cool. So that's a big positive for me, I think. I think it looks cooler than some toy haulers out there. You kind of get the stealthy look almost. People don't see that and immediately think it's a camp trailer. Cheaper, and I don't know. That's like there's more pros and cons to each side, but those are kind of like some main ones that I hit. One of the bigger problems that I've run across is when you have aluminum siding on the outside, and then you have your foam right up to it, and then the wall. There's no air gap, but you're still going to get condensation in there. So like the metal studs and stuff, they're going to get wet because you're heating it in here and it's cold outside, or vice versa. So you're going to get condensation in there, and that can be a problem. You definitely want to consider using XPS foam or something like that that's waterproof. If you were to use like the fiberglass insulation, that would just create a huge mess. It would mold in there and just leave you with a lot of problems down the road. The problem with the XPS is you can't get it super thick. I think it comes in 2-inch is the thickest, and that's what I put on the ceiling here. But even though it's 2-inch thick, it's not that much insulation. Like this trailer, I have this little thermometer right here, and easily during the day it gets to 120 degrees in here. Like it'll max this thermometer out, and that's kind of hard on stuff that's in here, like the wood and everything. It'll tweak and move around. So I wish you could do more insulation easier in these trailers, but the way that the walls are and stuff, and the overall space that you have is kind of limited. So that's kind of a little bit of a bummer deal if you're camping in extreme environments pretty often. So these trailers are really low to the ground, and when you throw a couple tanks under there, you throw a gray water tank and a black water tank, it's gonna make it a lot harder to drain your trailer to when you go to the RV dump, because you only have that much clearance or whatever between the trailer and the ground, and so you're gonna have to kind of climb up under there depending where you put your sewer deals. So if you're doing one, definitely think that through. Think about where the pipe's going to come out, if it's going to hit on anything, if you're dragging. Not everybody does it, but I go up in the mountains and go over like rough roads and stuff. And actually last weekend I drove the front of the trailer and it almost touched all the way to the tires. So if I had a pipe hanging down right there, it would have ripped it right off and I would have been screwed.